Hello there. Welcome back to grade 11 at our geography. We want to look at a question paper. And on this question paper of November 2022, we're going to look at the first question, which is on development and geography. So we've got a question that we have there with multiple choice matching words. So those are the types of questions that we are having on this question. So we're going to start by 1.1, which reads, I choose a term from column B that matches the description in column A. Write only the letter A to H next to the question number, that is 1.1.1 to 1.1.7. For example, you are given an example on how you should present your answers in the answer book. So we are given column A and column B. So we are going to have our explanation in column A, and then you are matching the words that we are given in column B. So on the first one, which is 1.1.1, it says that the development of industries in a country, and we're going to try to see which term in column B do match that explanation. So we've got our terms that are ranging from A to H. So we can just try to pick there. So if you go through column B, we will see that this explanation matches what industrialization. So we've got E on the first part, which is 1.1.1, explaining that the development of industries in a country is industrialization. So basically, industrialization is the process of transforming the economy of a country or region from a focus on agriculture to reliance on manufacturing. So we are saying whenever there's a transition from being agriculture centered to being manufacturing centered, then we regard that as industrialization. So you see that also this is facilitated by the use of mechanized methods of mass production. And we have got positive aspects that we can deduce from industrialization. For example, when we engage in industrialization, we're going to benefit in terms of economic growth and also more efficient division of labor is going to be also enhanced. And also, we are going to notice a growth in technological innovation. So this is what we have positives that we can deduce from the aspect of industrialization. So industrialization, so you're saying the first one is E. So maybe we can just try to make it more visible. So we are saying we have got our E describing 1.1.1. Then we go to 1.1.2. The explanation is that located in LEDCs where resources are cheap and wages are low. So LEDC, remember, it means less economically developed countries. So the explanation is that located in LEDCs where resources are cheap and wages are low. So we can just try to pick a term that is explaining that can match that explanation in column B. So if you go there, you will see that we have got trans transnational corporations becomes the most appropriate that we have there. So we've got G. So obviously, we would want maybe to try to understand what we mean by transnational cooperation. So you see that a transnational cooperation, they sort of differs from multinational companies, whereby we are saying in transnational cooperation, there's decentralization in their operations. That is, they do not have a corporate home, as in centralized maybe heads of the companies being in one country. They decentralize their operations, which is one of the most important differentiation that we can put down in terms of difference that can be there between transnational corporations and multinational companies. So examples of transnational corporations that we can have in this world, we have Nestle and Toyota. So we are saying this company, Nestle and Toyota becomes the examples that we can give in terms of transnational cooperation companies. So you see that the transnational cooperation companies, they do business in more than one country and are decentralized, and they do not consider one country to be its corporate home. That's what makes them different from multinational companies. So this is what we have in terms of the second part, which is 1.1.2. We go to 1.1.3, where it reads involves the movement of goods, services, capital, ideas, and people around the world. So on 1.1.3, you'll see that if you go to the column B, you'll see that globalization is the correct match there. So we are saying globalization. So by globalization, again, we would want to understand exactly what we mean by globalization. So you see that globalization is the process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and governments worldwide. So whenever there is an interaction that is there between our local country and other countries that are outside, we say we are engaging in globalization. International trade also describes globalization. So many benefits that we can deduce from globalization. When engaging in globalization, we are going to maybe enjoy some of the technologies that are not there in our local country. For example, we are going to purchase cars from China, other countries, other developed countries. So the technology there, we are bringing it in our local country, and we tend to enjoy that. So that those are some of the benefits that we can say we gain from globalization, and also the acquisition of foreign currency. Remember, our foreign currency reserves also are very important in the determination of how strong our economy is. So this is very important, and also the supply of goods also can is enhanced in our local country, because some goods are short in our country. They are few. But if you engage in globalization, we are going to get access of our goods that are going to come from outside the country, and supply will increase. And obviously, the demands of customers will be satisfied. So this is what we have in terms of globalization. Then we go to the next explanation, which is saying the exchange of goods between countries. Basically, the exchange of goods between countries, we are saying this involves the issue of imports and exports. So we are trading with other countries. That's how we can facilitate the issue of exchanging of goods between countries. So the explanation that we have on 1.1.4 is foreign trade. We've got foreign trade that explains that actually match this explanation. Then we've got B here. We are saying B. In foreign trade, we know that when you're talking about foreign trade, it's the issue of exchange of goods and services with other countries. Basically, that's what we mean. So we go to the next one. An increase in activity and investment in one area triggers off activity and investment in other areas. So let's try to pick. You would see that we have got the multiplier effect there on 1.1.1.5, matching this explanation. And obviously, we want to know what exactly we mean by multiplier effect. But here, the multiplier effect is being explained from the point of view of investment triggering economic activity. So economic activity in its explanation is the rate at which goods and services are being produced in our country. So you say if the goods and services are being produced at a higher rate, we say the economic activity has increased. So basically, that's what it means. So when we talk about multiplier effect from the point of view of investment now, we are saying this is the proportionate amount of increase or decrease in the monetary value of goods and services that are being produced in a country from an injection or withdrawal of capital. So basically, you see that it measures the impact that a change in economic activity, like investment or spending, will have on total economic output. Therefore, we are saying this degree of amplification of the multiplication, this degree of amplification of the increase of economic activity is called now the multiplier effect. So basically, this is what we have. So investment is the one that is triggering that economic activity. So this is what we have in terms of 1.1.5. Then we can go to the next one, which is 1.1.6, which reads countries generally located in the north with high income. So we can just try to see what we have in terms of that one. We are now on 1.1.6. So you'd see that this is developed countries. Countries generally located in the north with high income, they are developed countries. H. So here we've got H. H here. Then 1.1.7 balances economic, social, and environmental objectives. So let's try to see which one. Obviously, we now have a sustainable development. So we've got D there, sustainable development. Obviously, we would want to know what do we mean by sustainable development. But basically, we say that sustainable development is an approach to growth and human development that aims to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So basically, that's the explanation that I have in terms of a sustainable development. So this is what we have on the first part there. So we want to go and look at the second part and see what we have. So let's just try to see. We go to the next part. Second part, we have multiple choice. So 1.2 is mainly multiple choice. So on 1.2, we are saying it reads various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question numbers. that is 1.2.1 to 1.2.8 in the answer book. After you are given an example of how to present it. Then the first one is 1.2.1. So the 1.2.1 reads a Gini coefficient score of 0.8 indicates. So we are given the responses that we are given there. So basically, we would want to understand exactly what we mean by a Gini coefficient. So this is a measure of statistical dispersion intended to represent the income inequality. So I would see that the wealth inequality also is evolved or the consumption inequality. So this is what we have in terms of Gini coefficient. And on the other hand, again, I will see that it measures the inequality among the values of a frequency distribution, such as levels of income. So explanations that can make it clear in terms of what we mean by a Gini coefficient. So we would see that in terms of these variables of coefficients, when it's zero, it means perfect equality, where all income or wealth values are the same. That is when we have a coefficient of zero. And also on the other extreme, when we have a coefficient of 1, which we can equate to 100%, it reflects a maximum inequality among values, a situation whereby a single individual has all the income while others have none. So this is what we have in terms of Gini coefficient. So we are having a 0.8, which is very near to 1, of which 1 we are saying it reflects maximum inequality. So this is what we have. So we can just maybe try to deduce from that explanation, from the answers that we are given. So on 1.2.1, let's try to see what really explains according to the explanation that I've given. You'll see that A is the is the correct one, which says an equal distribution of wealth in a country, which is very correct. So we have A here is our answer. Then we 1.2.2 reads the balance of trade is the balance of trade basically is the difference between the monetary value of nations' exports and imports over a certain period. But obviously, usually the period will be 1 year, so on annual basis. So we will see that on balance of trade, we are going at the end of it, we are going to have a surplus or a deficit, or trade surplus and a trade deficit. We are looking at balance of trade, and we're saying balance of trade is the difference between the monetary value of a nation's exports and imports, whereby we're comparing the exports and imports, and we're saying we can have two scenarios whereby we can have a trade surplus or trade deficit. Trade surplus being explained by when exports are more than imports, and the trade deficit are now imports will be more than our exports. So this is what we have. Then we are saying according to the response that we are given, the balance of trade is the you'd see that the most appropriate answer that we have there is C, which is saying the value of countries' imports and exports. So we have got C. Then we go to the 1.2.3, reads demographic indicators include. Basically, demographic indicators, they refer to the study of resident population in a given geographical area. So you'd see that when we are looking at the population distribution, the terms that are explaining that according to our responses, we have got on 1.2.3, we have got A, which is saying birth and death rates. This one is the one that is explaining the demographic indicators. Then we go to 1.2.4. The disadvantage of globalization is the, so obviously we want to understand exactly what we mean by globalization, but basically globalization, we've explained it there. That is engaging other countries, whereby we are interacting with the other countries. Then we are saying we are embarking on globalization. So the 1.2.4 is a disadvantage of globalization is the A, we have got the liberalization of trade, which is not a disadvantage but advantage. Extent of skills is an advantage, not disadvantage. Spread of COVID-19 is actually a disadvantage, because as you are interacting with other countries, that's when you are going to have the spread of COVID-19 there. So C is a disadvantage. Then you go to D, formation of global organization is an advantage. So it's not a disadvantage. So you see that C is the answer that we have on 1.2.4. Then we go to 1.2.5. China's rapid economic development can be attributed to N. So if you go through the responses that we have, you'd see that if you go to D is the most appropriate, whereby you're saying export-led approach to development. Remember, China has been one of the countries which is being successful in the world through exporting. They have got one of the biggest volume or largest volume of exports of in the world. So we have got D, export-led approach to development. So we have got D there, it's 1.2.5. Then we can try to go to the next one, which is saying 1.2.6. The donation of vaccines to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic is an example of a dash development aid. So on 1.2.6, you would see that if you go through the we have A, we've got conditional. A, we've got conditional. B, we have got humanitarian. B, we have got humanitarian, and then C, we have got bilateral. D, we have got technical. So you see that the answer that we have there is humanitarian. And obviously, humanitarian development is a concept of increased collaboration between organizations working in short-term humanitarian aid and long-term international development. So that's the most appropriate that we have there. That is correct. Then that's what we have. Then obviously, we want to see where if you we are still having any other question on multiple choice. So we go to 1.2.7, which is saying a human development index of 0.8 indicates A. So on 1.2.7, we have got human development index. So obviously, we need to understand what we mean by human development index, whereby it's a summary measure of average achievement in key dimensions of human development. Of course, we can engage like a long and healthy life, being knowledgeable, and also we can relate it to having a decent standard of living. So this is what we have in terms of 1.2.7. So the most appropriate that we have there with a human development index of 0.8 there on 1.2.7 is a high good quality of life. High good quality of life. We've got A there being the correct answer that we have there. Then 1.2.8, combating the spread of HIV and AIDS and COVID-19 are examples of development from a DASH context. We've got local, regional, community, and global, but obviously the most appropriate there is global, which is D. So we are going to take our D is on 1.2.8. So that's enough on multiple choice. Then we can move on to the next part, which is 1.3, which is saying refer to the cartoon below, showing an economic indicator of development. So we are given GDP growth, and we are given a cartoon of we are having people there, and they are saying something. Someone is saying, "Is this human development?" Then the other one is saying, "Could I at least get something to eat?" So basically, from the look of it, you can see that there is someone saying, "Could I at least get something to eat?" Which means that someone is in poverty, is hungry. So there are problems there. So let's go to the questions. 1.3.1 says, "What is GDP growth?" So basically, you can start by defining what we mean by GDP. GDP basically is the total monetary value of goods and services that are being produced in a country within its international boundaries. That is, goods and services that are being produced in the local economy what we call GDP. So when it's now GDP growth, we are saying those are total monetary goods of monetary goods and services that are being produced in the country are now increasing from year to year. So this is why we can regard it as growth now. So according to the definition that I have on GDP growth, let's just try to see. Here is the definition, which is GDP growth. GDP growth is the increase in the total of monetary value of goods and services produced in a country over a specific period of time, usually a year. So this is what we have in terms of GDP growth. So I will go to the next question and see what does it say. So if you go to the next question, it says, state the importance of GDP growth for a country. So obviously, we are saying goods and services, goods that are being produced are increasing. So it's an indication that there's economic activity in the country. And also it's an indication that more companies are opening and more companies are operating. And as that is happening, it means more people are going to be accommodated in those companies, and employment is going to go up, and it's going to eradicate the issue of unemployment. So if you have such a situation, it is a positive from an economist perspective. So let's try to see what importance do we have according to our responses. So we go to the our response section. There is a positive. We are on 1.3.2. It indicates an increase. It indicates an increase in formal employment, thereby enhancing the livelihoods of citizens of the country, which is very true. When we have high economic activity in the country, which is being evidenced by the growth in GDP, we are going to have people getting into formal employment, and this is going to enhance their livelihoods. Quality of life is going to be enhanced. So we go there and see what we have next. We now have 1.3.3, which say comment on the relationship between GDP growth and human development. So basically, GDP growth, whenever there's GDP growth, also human development is going to be enhanced. So we are going to notice a positive relationship that is there between GDP growth and human development in such a way that we are saying when there is GDP growth, human development is also going to improve. So this is what we have in terms of 1.3.3. So as well, we can also try to see the explanation that we have there on relationship. That is 1.3.3. It reads there is we are here. There is a positive relationship between GDP growth and human development. That is, when GDP growth increases, the living standards and quality of life of people is enhanced. In turn, the increase in the living standards and quality of life of people leads to future GDP growth. So we are saying when these living standards have been enhanced, it also means in terms of the future, GDP is also going to grow. So this is what we have in terms of 1.3.3. So go to the next one, which is 1.3.4, which reads, how does the cartoon portray a negative impact of GDP growth on human development? So we are seeing that there is GDP growth, but there are people that are looking for something to eat. So it means there is some inequalities that are there in that economy. So let's try to see what we have in terms of explanation. But our question is saying, how does the cartoon portray a negative impact of GDP growth on human development? So we go there and try to see. 1.3.4 is saying, despite GDP growth, there are still many people that live in poverty. That's an indication that we are seeing there in the cartoon, which is very true. So we move on to the next one, 1.3.5. Explain why this negative impact, your answer to question 1.3.4, is prevalent in most countries. So the question is saying, why do we have people that are looking for something to eat, so it's an indication that people are in poverty. Why do we have people that are in poverty when a country is experiencing economic growth? We are saying when there's economic growth, there's economic activity. But why do we find people that are struggling? That's the question. So on 1.3.5, we go there. We'll see what points do we have. So the points that we have are listed there. The first point is saying there will be an equal distribution of wealth in a country. That is GDP growth focuses on demand and not developing the social capital in a country. So we are saying whenever there's GDP, the focus is on the increase of the activity in the country, economic activity in the country, whereby goods and services are going to be produced more. But the focus on social capital is not enhanced. So this is something that there's a weakness that's going to lead to some people to be in poverty, while the country is experiencing economic growth. So the second point is saying social tension is the poor are marginalized. That's another point why we can have such a situation. And then the third point is saying racial tension is minority groups are excluded from the mainstream economy. Another point. Then the last point is saying GDP growth depletes natural resources and robs people of their livelihoods. So we are saying when there's high economic activity that is going to lead to GDP growth, we are going to see some natural resources being depleted because of the high economic activity that is taking place. So in the process, some people are going to be disadvantaged. That was our last point is trying to illustrate. So if you go there, you will see that we are on 1.3.5. We still have 1.3.6, which is saying suggest strategies to improve human development in developing countries. So what are the strategies that we can put in place so that we can enhance human development? So we have some strategies that we have according to this video. Let's just try to see what our strategies do we have there. So if you go to the last part of our answer section, that is 1.3.6, it reads some of the strategies that you can put in place. One, we can improve the levels of literacy by making education more accessible. So when you make education more accessible, it means more people are going to have the potential to be employed. So it's going to eradicate the issue of poverty. People are going to be employed. So that's the first point. The second point is saying introducing a variety of skills programs to make more people employable in the formal and informal sector. So we have got some skills, technical skills that we can engage that can make the lives of people better and make them employable. So that's the second point that we have. Then we go to the third point, saying provision of services to improve the quality of life. And then I'll go to the next point, improving the gender inequality index so that more women are represented in politics, education, and high-level jobs. So these are the points. So these are the recommendations that are being put in place according to this video in terms of enhancing the issue of human development. So the last point that we have is improving food security in a country to reduce poverty. So these are the points that we have, or the strategies that we are putting in place so that we can make human development a better aspect in our local economy. So this is what we have, guys, according to this video. Let's stay tuned for more videos to come. Let's subscribe and share, and stay tuned for more videos to come. As for this video, I'm signing out. We'll meet again in the next video.